Remember last week how Chris liked Twitter fan art of a Sonichu OC named Devin, and then he also made a video wishing Devin a happy birthday? Turns out those are two different Devins. Also, my name is Devin, so that's three different Devins in the last video. Just wanted to clear that up because it's kinda confusing. With that, let's just hop into what happened this week. On this episode of the Chris Chan Weekly Update, we're gonna start with a post from Noel on the Kiwi farms. Turns out that Chris wants to go to a Brony convention in Seattle called Everfree Northwest. Noel writes, Chris's current plan is to drive the van over the Rockies to Seattle, taking one stop to rest in a parking lot. I am using executive privilege to veto this plan in favor of a flight itinerary. Chris will need a rental car, but has already booked a hotel for the weekend and gotten a pass to go. I'm debating how to get the money for this. I could just pay myself with the silver money, since Chris helped with that, but Chris is considering a GoFundMe. This might be a good test to see if I can get Chris to do drawings and shout out videos reliably. Discuss. Are any of you going there? I might need someone dependable to call on. The silver is a reference to how Noel is forging his own silver coins featuring Chris's face and how Chris took a picture to use on the coins, so that's a lot of effort he had to put in there. So Noel is considering paying for Chris's expenses himself, or advertising a GoFundMe so that we can fund Chris's expenses to go to a convention. And this is only happening to prevent Chris from driving there himself, because that's what he'll do if other people don't stop him from making bad choices. Keep in mind, this is the Kiwi farms. This is supposedly the worst people on the internet, the bad guys. Yep. So much for that. So now we're going to move over to Chris's Twitter. I have a real think piece for all of you. Money and its value. As I am continue to reread in Warhol Chris Chan in Chapter 5 on collecting and hoarding, there is a quote where, quote, if you're successful, if you're making money and you're very successful, it's okay. But if you're not making money, then you're a dilettante loser. Let's focus on the money, because I totally disagree with one needing money to be a success. We can literally look furthest back into history, long before the concept of money was invented. The people of this whole universe, long before it was divided by the Iron Curtain Veil by King Arthur's command, when it was still Universe 1C211987, and the other deities and mythical creatures like unicorns, dragons, and whatnot were somewhat common and not rare. People bartered and traded. This was commonplace. Money had absolutely no value or power. During these centuries worth of time, despite people being various levels of emotions that can go as far as During these centuries worth of time, despite people being various levels of emotions that can go as far as extremely violent and the common folk were amongst the humble and honest. Even favors were good commodities. And artists were able to become famous and successful during these times by presenting their skill and crafts for everyone to appreciate and admire. Even the creatures that were seen by them at least one time, even interdimensionally by the past standard in the vast multiverse that existed since the Big Bang in this timeline and their respective timelines. Deities were amongst these original creations, but more accurately, #genuine discoveries in visions and direct experiences. So I don't think I need to point out how he's wrong, how value and wealth could obviously still exist before the invention of money. Whoever had the most food and land would still have more value than other people. Deities are creations, but more accurately, they're discoveries? I mean, yeah, that's what he thinks, but in visions and direct experience, what? I think he's making sense, it's just the grammar makes it extremely difficult to tell. I don't think he's saying anything new that we didn't already know. During these early times, deities did walk the earth, and lasted longer than everyone else in lifetime and beyond, still alive with their respective bodies in continuing, youthful work, and effort as best as they each can from their respective domains and whatnot. And these creators, discoverers, and explorers each have created their respective legacies and successes in chronicling these creatures and individuals, and everyone else around them as well. They never needed money or currency in exchange to take care of themselves or enjoy the fruits of others' labors and crafts. Even myself and Warhol, whereas he eventually became more in it for the fame and the money, when I started my art, creating and discoveries, and the books, I was hardly concerned with making money. I understand from your logic, quote, money is power, but it is not. Certainly, if you have enough, or a massive amount of money, you can buy many nice and nicer things for yourselves, and, as Don LeSham put it cleverly, creating, quote, a very visual representations, sometimes misleadingly so, of growing one's personal value or increasing the value of one's household, with, quote, the accumulation of goods, even unused goods. Even if Sonic the Hedgehog or Pikachu never had existed, I have discovered the species of Sonichus and Rosechus, personally, and worked with them since as early as after the dinosaurs died out. I lived from then up to after Merlin the Magician had perished without dying, and before finding new life on this side of the created veil of division. Is that supposed to be division or dimension? Before finding new life on this side of the created veil of division in the early attempt at interdimensional travel, without killing myself at all, mind you. He puts that in because a lot of people think that he's going to kill himself to travel over to the other dimension. This is also interesting because we're getting new lore. He says he traveled back in time. So the division between the universes came about around when King Arthur existed, which means that before that, all the fictional characters lived in our reality and on our world. So if Sonichus came into existence a little after the time of the dinosaurs, that means that they existed on our actual planet up until King Arthur's times. So Chris says he's gone back in time and interacted with Sonichus from dinosaurs up until the present, which means that Sonichu, his son, is not Sonichu Prime. There's another Sonichu. There's many more Sonichus that existed before that, which is a huge retcon. But I do digress. I have made more than my mark on the peoples on this side of the veil with my discoveries and stories, despite being a bunch of self-focused, long before truly finding myself and deeply soul-searching to recover my fullest memories into my collective consciousness, subconsciousness, and unconsciousness, as well as my memory backups within the cosmos. And I have inspired many an individual to interdimensionally discover every single OC and FC imaginable, because we are all very much real, existent, and coexistent right alongside you all. We have been for decades and then some. I never required money for our successes and greater successes. Even if you remove the paid web services from the equation, there have always been free options over the years since when the internet was conceived in thought. My success continues to blossom and bloom again and again and again into infinity with everyone in our total and combined universe. I may have wanted cooperative help at times, but I didn't really require it. He didn't really require all the times he begged for money. Because he's a god. I may have wanted... He's actually said that before. One of my most popular videos by view count is Chris Chan says he didn't need a job because he's a god. I think it only got a lot of views because of the thumbnail. But yeah, no, he's actually believed this for a while. I may have wanted cooperative help at times, but I didn't really require it. And even at conventions, with the sharing of various arts and media from all of you and everyone else, all of your marvelous discoveries and chroniclings. That sentence did not have an ending. I'm very much genuine and authentic in truth when I tell you all right now, my lovely Sonichus, Rosechus, myself, and everyone else in between, we are all successes, and massive amounts of money was never really required. I am greater than the power and influence of money because I have subconsciously, innately, and eventually, fully consciously, known all of this and let everything from my fated instincts and your actions show all of us the paths and whatnot with the various science that continue to be through all of you and everything around us. So his point is that money doesn't mean success because he doesn't have money and he's a success. So take that how you will. And yes, I do realize the irony of needing money for the minimum over the years, but as I have stated, I have never required massive amounts of money to do my immortality lifelong job as your goddess. And that is my 2 bolts and a heart for you all for now. Thank you. Postscript. Just because I stated that I don't require massive amounts of money, that does not give anyone any form of discourage to give or support me with money, nor does it encourage not give me any money at all. At times, I will ask for money, for the minimum essentials. I may require until such a time when I can manage better for myself financially. But until then, I would very much appreciate the continued kindness and genuine contributions, in dollars, not 1 cent or cents, among which I would very much like money for a current present model car. I'm just saying for now. Please and thank you again. Speechless. Guys, money does not equal success. Also, buy me a car. Let me go to the BronyCon in Seattle. I need your money. I'm going to start a GoFundMe. It's definitely not a marker of not being successful, the fact that I have zero money and can't take care of myself. No, not at all. Why would you say that? Okay, so this person's asked me to blur out their name when discussing this topic. Somebody who follows Chris relatively closely, their mother very unexpectedly passed away. And so they tweeted this out rather rashly, not really thinking that Chris would probably respond to it. They said, "I wish I could just do what Chris does and pretend that everyone I love that's dead isn't really dead and they're actually an effing cartoon or something. Must be nice." And then they still wanted me to cover this. They still wanted me to read Chris's response because it just shows how insensitive and hurtful he can be. He says, "It's not pretend, it is fact. Don't delusion yourself with doubt." Yeah, which is obviously not helpful. This guy juts in and said, "Chris, you should sit this one out." And Chris says, "And you need to open your mind and heart and heal yourself free of any of your doubt-filled delusions." So yeah, Chris got very tired of people saying that he was deluded, so now he's saying that everyone else is deluded. Fantastic. Moving on from that, we have some fan art. Bimbified Sonichu for Pride Month, and Chris says, "Not bad for Mrs. Sonichu in the gender bent universe." Sonica? Sonicha? Okay, so this is in response to the Jaywitz, who is a Pokemon YouTuber that Chris apparently follows. And the tweet was deleted, but it was probably in reference to his first child that was just born. And Chris says, "Meditate and send your wish out to the universe and the deities. Your dream job that is destined for you in the near future will present itself to you. Patience is worth it. Also, congratulations on the child and to your wife's continued good health and well-being." Maybe it was about a job that he wants. I don't know. The point is that Righteous for Quick, who's the absolutely insane person who follows Chris, just does a smiley face and then a bunch of blue hearts. All right, so there's this Twitter account, the Sergeant at Arms, who says, "A Christorian, collector, and follower of Sonichu-related content." And it looks like they're doing a lot of these pixel art of Sonichu characters. So they did this. They did Chris as a kid, Chris as a teenager, Chris as an early adult, and Chris currently. And Chris has some feedback. "Fair and good. A couple of pointers. Young Christopher's eyes were both blue. No heterochromia yet. Chris honestly believes that he got his heterochromia from getting pink eye when he was a kid, meaning that there was a time before he had heterochromia. That is not the case. You cannot get it from having pink eye. Second, adulthood Christian doesn't have boobs. And between both him and me at present, our face shape is the same as teenage Christian. Thank you for sharing." So Chris is really mad that adult Chris is fat compared to teenage Chris, and he thinks that both of them should have the same face shape as teenage Chris. But that's not all. He also comes in and says, "And none of that aged look on my present face either, please." Yeah, why would a 40-year-old man look old? This, I guarantee you, this is unironically what Chris thinks he looked like. This guy says, "Chris, I have a similar sweater, XD." And Chris says, "That's cool and stylish. I literally wish Ralph Lauren would make the old original shirt again. With my legacy, they'd make more moolah compared to their other designs." He actually thinks that? He actually thinks that? It's so painful. Okay, so this person, it's a Brony person on YouTube, says, "Oh, I need a flashlight." And Chris says, "I can personally recommend this one from Energizer. It is really bright on max and has a dimmer light, as well as a night light setting, runs on 4D batteries. It really helped Barbie Chan and I when we were going through the house and sorting out things after the house fire of 2014. So yes, in case you missed last week's video, Chris is now calling his mother Barbie Chan, or Barb Chan, and I theorize that that's in preparation mentally for her passing and him having to say that she is actually a Rose Chew so that she can live in the other dimension. Pink Dragonite then says, "Was Robert Chew alive during this time?" And Chris says yes. His father was not alive during this time, but Robert Chew, who is the Sonichu version of his father, was obviously alive because he was alive in the other dimension. I don't know why, this is just funny to me. This person says, "They actually confirmed he's effing bi. Thank you." Who? Watch Loki to find out who she's talking about. And then my first response is the exact same as this person. I assume it's Loki. You kind of gave it away there, Chris. That is who they're talking about. They did confirm that Loki is bi in the 3rd episode of Loki. One card I drew for the collective today is Schizophrenia. Essentially, follow your heart and instincts today. A bunch of you are feeling conflicted between two choices/situations. When overwhelmed, choose the third option. What? Choose the third option and just follow your heart where it will guide you. For myself, however, I drew We Are the World. I am not consciously, subconsciously, or unconsciously as befuddled today, but I display the image alongside this card today to affirm that I am by your side and will guide you safe as well. Does anyone... I'm going to do a poll. Okay, I'm going to do a poll. Who believes that Chris is actually shuffling these cards and drawing them randomly and then interpreting them, versus who believes that he's just picking the one that he wants to pick for himself because he wants to have a good day or whatever? Oh yes, of course this magically fixed with the day that I was already having, because I'm actually psychic, not just me cheating. All you need to do when feeling in such major doubts is follow your heart and instinct, or if you're feeling unable to, call on me in a prayer and I will guide you. Also, feeling like this is a good time to mention Richard Kelly and Donnie Darko. That flowing liquid that flows out of your core area between your heart chakra and solar plexus in the void. I can tell you all, that guiding soul path is a thing, and when I'm feeling uncertain or need a reminder of what's next on my path, I put my hand over my core. Incidentally, is also where our respective heart crystals are located. I look into my path and see the vision of the path ahead and anything incoming within it. This also does correlate with follow and open your heart, because you are looking within the heart area. There's your insight and lesson on following your heart. Heed this renewed knowledge and insight, and prosper as you will. Lots of love. And then it's a gif of Donnie Darko and the soul energy thing is guiding him, leaving his body. This person's asking, Chris, longtime fan here, is just curious if Barb was okay. We haven't seen her in a while. And Chris says, Barbie Chan is quite all right, healthy and well, I assure you. Don't like that. Chris then comments on this comment that I don't like and says, just let y'all know, here in general, y'all have likely noticed me referring to Barbara as Barbie Chan. During this time, unless she says otherwise, I am the only one who has been entrusted to call her Barbie. Everyone else, please refer to her as Barbara. She does not like being called Barb. She told me this recently. I've been on the fence about Barb, as it can also be in reference to barbed wire. What? So please, everyone, respect and appreciation for Barbara. Thank you. That's something. Okay, so this is like 3 layers of stuff. Okay, so somebody wrote the word Lesbos in reference to the island, which is where the word lesbian comes from. And somebody responded to that and said, I notice you use the term lesbo in one of your titles. I just wanted to let you know that that is a slur that only lesbians can use. And the person responded, the internet is effing wild. To be very clear, I have Lesbos in the title of an episode about Sappho, who is a lesbian Greek poet. And this person responds and says, I feel that cringe. Reminds me of when I used the term whitewashing and teenagers joined white supremacists in calling me an anti-white racist. And Chris responds to that, whoa, that is super messed up. I have had my own share of swapping out words I did not want to use at the time. No, that's not what they're talking about. But such a complaint, followed by a trollish age like that, is so many levels of cringe and then some. Chris is comparing this, which is people not understanding the etymology of words, to when he would say things like duck and China, which makes literally no sense. Hey everyone, let's talk a bit about conventions. In response to page 185 of Warhol Chris Chan, I've handwritten what really has made interaction more genuinely easier for me over the years. Major props to BronyCon, and looking forward to the next in-person BabsCon as well. Magfest. Most lovely and vibing Saturday that was. The local OmegaCon, looking at their Twitter, are they still doing the conventions here now? Has much more room for vibe improvement. But props for hosting the dancing classes that 1 year before BronyCon 2017. Worst con in my eyes at this point? Majorly sorry, too many games. That's the one he got kicked out of for sexually assaulting people. But if you all had not pulled that vicious, trolling setup trap, your convention could have been my 3rd or 2nd favorite. You've majorly shot yourselves in more than just your own feet with that stunt. So he's blaming the convention because multiple guests complained about him touching and kissing them, and then he got thrown out, and he thinks it was a trap. If any of you think that he's not delusional, I don't have an end for that sentence. Aside from that, I have also attended a couple of stamp conventions and rock conventions. Vibes were neutral, in general, between them. Now I gotta figure out how to read this. At conventions, it was not as much shared interests, but moreover, and specifically, it was the genuine vibe, the total amount of genuine kindness and positivity out of the total local collective within the convention attendees, as well as the filled ambiance throughout the location. All that is what makes certain conventions much easier interactions and mingling localities/events. Although, not all conventions ring, register, or resonate, the anime conventions I attend were partially putting this vibe out. Charlottesville OmegaCon, mostly, registered with me as feeling rather meh. MagFest that one year and panel, mind-blowing that day and night was. And Too Many Games, small, but the vibe was more than half positive. The trollish setup and trap killed that convention in my feeling, just about totally. Yeah, so that's something. Okay, so after Chris tweeted about this being a trolling setup to get him kicked out of Too Many Games, we have this artist drawing Pikachu to yell at Chris, saying, "You can't retcon your real life." I think that this was a real comic that he's now only changed the text on. Or maybe Pikachu did draw that, and it's just being recontextualized. I don't know. You can't retcon your real life, not when you're the most documented person in human history. Think, Chris, think. You just can't tweet or draw comics over your past to change it. That's not how it works. You need to get up and start thinking about the real-life 1218 future. But Chris's response is here. I was not retconning when I talked of the conventions. These were the points of fact from my feeling of the conventions during each time, and I did feel the vibes and energy over the years. The flaw I blame is not fully recognizing and appreciating my better instincts sooner. And Bobbles responds, you try to retcon what happened at Too Many Games. Nobody set you up. You made a mistake kissing strangers and should own up to it. Chris says, I did make the mistake of expressing my appreciation too far at the time. I have learned from that. But again, I know very well that I was constantly being observed by the trolls and haters, and they, at the time, were looking for anything to pin me down for. Also, major observation I still remember very well, the host of the convention messaged me through freaking Facebook, so indirect, especially when he could have had an easier, more direct communication by texting me, or better yet, pull me over personally and warn me. But you know what? He did not do that at all. I had no proper warning or notification that this was wrong. I psychically know he was in with the haters at the time, and so he half-the warning, adding that detail to the setup against me. Okay, so this makes Chris a lot less delusional about this being a conspiracy, but it makes him an idiot. Nobody, even people who know Chris, aren't going to think that he wants them to text him. We all know that his number is out there. We can just find his phone number. Texting him instead of going on his public Facebook page is not something anybody would ever think of, even if they knew Chris very well. And I kind of doubt that the person who set up this convention knows a lot about Chris. So this is just nonsense. Okay, looks like we got a new ween who says, the 16 astral shoes are real. You must preach about them, Chris Chan. And Chris says, I have met them in my interdimensional travels, but they are not fully conscious with my body's brain yet. Please do tell. Which means that he's never heard of them before this moment. And Johnny says, Chris, get help, like for real. You are not a trans lesbian and you do not interdimensionally travel. You are a 40-year-old man-child. Please get help. And Chris says, your toxic vibes do not serve me, and therefore I reflect them back to you. I am not going back to immaturity. I feel sorry for you that my enlightenment and ascension is what you lack for yourself. Meditate on that. Johnny responds, you are the one that believes you're married to Mewtwo and your made-up characters. I hold a job down, I pay my bills, I own my house. Tell me again who is immature. That don't impress me much. What is impressive is spiritually enlightenment and maturity. Yeah, because if you just claim that you're mature, then you win. You win the game. So Dr. Wolf, who's one of the Brony analysts, tweets out information about the new My Little Pony show that he has on his YouTube channel. And Chris responds, Doctor, I hate to be that individual, but as I have stated and reaffirmed time and again, My Little Pony Gen 5 is cancelled, and My Little Pony Gen 4 is on again for 5 more seasons. Please stop talking about Gen 5. It is cancelled. Thank you, Doc. You're literally denying reality, Chris. He's denied it for decades, why stop now? Yeah, if it doesn't exist, then it doesn't need to be boycotted, right? This person decides to jump into Chris's mentions and asks if he would be interested in that video commission. But he hasn't heard back from Chris, which makes me think that he contacted Chris about reading his book, because Chris says that he would love to review the book, but he's currently too tied up with the Warhol Christian thing, and he can only do one book at a time. So we might be looking forward to Chris reviewing someone else's book in the future. And that's the end. Thank you for watching. You can follow me on Twitter at GiBi_Devin. And no, I'm not going to link the Kickstarter here if it even exists at the time that this video goes up, but I'm sure you can find it for yourself if you want to aid and abet in Chris going to a convention.